Alright guys, so in this video I'm going to be discussing the Pythagorean Theorem, and that is TEK 8.7c. So what is the Pythagorean Theorem? Well, the Pythagorean Theorem is a formula, and this formula involves right triangles. So in this statement here I said if a triangle is a right triangle, then we can use the formula a squared plus b squared equals c squared. On our star reference chart, we can find the Pythagorean theorem here. Well, we know that a right triangle is distinguished by its 90-degree angle. And the sides of a right triangle are as follows. We have leg A, we have leg B, and we also have a hypotenuse, which that is going to be your C. So directly across from your 90-degree angle, you're always going to find your side C, which is your hypotenuse. Now, I'm going to do one example. This says find the missing side. So I have a missing side here. I don't know what that is. I'm going to do exactly what I just did in this other example, drawing my arrow out from my 90-degree angle. And that is going to be my hypotenuse, my side C. So in this formula, sometimes students get confused as to which one to label A, B, or C. It doesn't really matter which one you label A and B, but you can don't get confused with the C. C cannot, you can't mix those up. But to make this simpler, let's make this the S, let's make this M, and then let's make this L. So what does that stand for? Whenever you go to fast food restaurants, they tell you, okay, do you want to make that a small, medium, or large? Let's go ahead and take A as our small, B as our medium, and C is always going to be our large side. So here we have our C. This side over here kind of looks a little bit shorter than this one, so I'm going to label this A. And I'm going to use my formula A squared plus B squared equals C squared, because this is a right triangle. So now knowing that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to plug in my numbers. Which my numbers are as follows. 21 squared for A, plus we don't know what B is yet, equals 35 squared, because that's our C. So now we're just going to do simple multiplication. 21 times 21. That gives you 441. We don't know what B is yet, so go ahead and bring that down. Bring down your equal sign. And then 35 times 35 gives you 1,225. Now at this point, I only want the B, so I'm going to isolate it. I'm going to start to remove everything that is not the letter B. So I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to subtract it because right now it's being added with B. So whatever I subtract from this side of the equal sign, I'm going to go ahead and do to the other side as well. Now at this point, these two, they cancel out because 441 minus 441 gives you 0. But you don't need to write the 0. So we're going to go ahead and bring down our B squared, bring down our equal sign, and then once we subtract 1,225 minus 441, it gives us 784. Now, some of you might think that we're done, but we're not, because we want the letter B, just the letter B, not B squared, not anything else, just the letter B. But right now, I can see that B is not by itself. B right now has a squared with it. So we got to get rid of that. Now, the opposite of squared is actually taking the square root. Whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other side. At this point, this and this cancel out, leaving me with just B, just the letter B. So You can either leave your answer as the square root of 784, or you can go ahead and you can simplify that. So let me use my calculator here. I'm going to use my Desmos one. So I'm going to take the square root of 784, and that gives me an answer of 28. So coming back over here, B is equal to 28. Sorry, I don't know why my pen is doing that. That is my final answer. Now, I'm going to show you how to do it in an easier way, okay? Because this is doing it the long way, but because we have the calculators in our classroom, we can actually use nsolve to figure this out. And remember that you get nsolve by doing menu, 3, and then 1. Menu, algebra, and numerical solve. So here, all we need, still set this up, A, B, you need your formula, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A is 21 squared. You don't know what B is, equals 35 squared. So at this point, all you need to do is take this and put that into the calculator. So check this out. Menu 3 and then 1, we need our nsolve. And then here's where we're going to plug in exactly what we just wrote. Plus B squared equals 35 squared. But we got to tell the calculator that we're looking for the letter B, so go ahead and put your comma B. And it gives you your answer as 28. So that is doing it exactly the same way as this. So we have another example that says, what is the measurement of leg A if leg B measures 8 inches and the hypotenuse measures 10 inches? Okay, so I have leg A, leg B, and a hypotenuse. Because they give me this word hypotenuse, I know that I'm dealing with a right triangle. Here is side C, and remember that C is equal to 10. Let's name this B, and that is going to be equal to 8. And we don't know what A is equal to. So, using our formula, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We don't know what A is. For B, you're going to plug in 8. For C, you're going to plug in 10. And you can work this out still the same way. So A squared, bring that down. 8 times 8 is 64. 10 times 10 equals 100. But remember that we need to get A by itself, so we're going to subtract 64 from both sides of the equal sign. These two are going to equal 0, so they cancel out, leaving me with A squared. And then 100 minus 64 gives me 36. But remember that I just want A, so I have to take the square root of both sides. The square root and the squared are going to cancel out, leaving me with the letter A as the square root of 36. But if I want to go ahead and simplify that using my calculator, A will be equal to 6. And that is my final answer. And like I said, we can go ahead and we can double check ourselves by putting this into the calculator. A squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared. So let's use nsolve. Comma A, because now we're looking for the letter A, and it gives us the same answer that we just got. So let's try this example. It says, Spencer is wanting to swim diagonally across his rectangular shaped pool. So we have a word diagonal, and we know that his pool is in the shape of a rectangle. The width of his pool is 25 feet, and the length is 12 feet. What is the approximate distance in feet that he will swim? Okay, so I highly suggest that we go ahead and that we draw a picture here. So I'm going to draw my pool. And they told me that the width is 25. And they told me that the length is 12. Now, they also gave me this word diagonally. So you remember, like, whenever you play bingo or whenever you're playing loteria, when you win in a diagonal, it goes straight across like this. So I know that when I'm dealing with a rectangle or a square, I know that each corner is 90 degrees. So that 90 degrees points to our letter C. The diagonal that they're talking about is the letter C. They want us to solve for C. So I'm going to redraw this triangle off to the side. So I have 12 here, 25 here, and I'm looking for C. So I'm going to use the same formula because it is a right triangle. I'm going to use the Pythagorean Theorem formula. And then I have to label. So I already know what side C is, and then let's do that small, medium, and large thing. Let's do this as A, and then this is going to be B. So A is 12 squared plus 25 squared equals C squared. 12 times 12 is 144. 25 times 25 is 625. And then bring down your C squared because you don't know what that is. So I'm just going to add these two numbers up. That equals 769 equals C squared. And just like we were doing on these other examples where we were taking the square root from both sides, we're going to do that here as well because we just want C. So you're going to take the square root of both sides. Remember that squared and the square root, they cancel out, leaving me with C is equal to 700, the square root of 769. But if you have your calculator and you can simplify that down, we're going to go ahead and simplify it. I'm going to switch back over to my Desmos calculator. The square root of 769. Oops, sorry. And then I can see here that the number that it gave me, it has multiple decimal points, but I only want 2 decimal points. So I'm going to round. And my final answer for this example is going to be 27.73. And then I want to use feet because it says what was the approximate distance, and I know that they were using feet as their unit. So my side C, the diagonal that Spencer will be swimming will be approximately 27.73 feet. And like I said, we can double check ourselves by putting this portion, just this, into our calculator to see if we are correct. Let's see. Menu through 1. Sorry. And we want to know what C is, so we're going to go ahead and put comma C. And it gives us the same exact answer. And remember that we only want 2 decimal places.